because it was 50 years ago on May 16th. I came to Yokohama, set sail on a half freighter, half passenger, and sailed to California with a backpack and a suitcase on a ship called the Oriental Pearl. Long before Leonardo DiCaprio in Titanic, I sailed on the ship looking for my destiny. So in a way, Japan is my second home. So to explain how I happened to be sailing from Yokohama to the United States, I have to tell a little bit about my little history. I was born in Taiwan from prosperous businessman. Both my parents are Japanese educated. My father graduated as an electrical engineer from Tokyo Koyo Daigaku. So my mother believes in fortune telling. So when I was about 12 years old, about your age, she took me to a fortune teller. And he looked at my fortune and said, "This boy, you have to send him far, far away, or else you will become a bad boy." I was the only son until my sister came 11 years later. So they decided to believe the fortune teller and send me off to Tokyo to live with my uncle, where I attended international school, an American school in Japan. And this is part of the message of my story. And I think, whether you believe in fortune telling or not, I think reflecting on my looking back, I believe there's some truth in what the fortune tellers say. Because I was growing up too comfortable. Everything's so easy, so familiar. I needed some hardship. So that was a big change for me. Coming to Tokyo, I met my first failure. I went to the ASIJ, I failed my algebra class. My first failure, I said, oh my gosh, I can do it. My English grammar was so poor. My English teacher asked me to stay after class to study more grammar. So can you imagine when I became the international president 3 years ago, I sent her an email. I said, remember that boy you sent to after class? He is going to be the international president. She said, I don't remember that. The story is, failure is not fatal. You can still recover and go beyond. So in Tokyo, I had a lot of failures, from math to English, and my dream was to become an electrical engineer like my father. But it became clear I am not going to be an engineer. So I did not do well in high school, and so I went on the ship when I graduated as soon as possible. On May 16th, I still remember the day. Came to Yokohama, nothing like it is here. And I set sail in search. And in a way, the fortune teller's saying stuck in my mind in retrospect. I have to seek experiences that is not comfortable to me. And in a way, that's my main message, is to try to expose myself to experiences. Just some example. During the summer, I worked in a residence house in San Francisco. My job was to be a waiter, night clerk, paint, and for my roommates in the basement are these gray-haired gentlemen. They're dishwashers, janitors. And the first person I met, he gave me a magazine, Look magazine, and showed a beautiful stairway. He says, I designed that. I said, if you designed that, what are you doing here sweeping the floor? So these are the people who are at the bottom of society. I slept with them. Another friend was a chemical engineer. He washed dishes. And when I was going to New York to start my graduate school, he asked me to keep his money for me. What's doing is asking the young man to keep money for him. It's because he cannot trust himself with money and alcohol. And I see what would happen. Despite a college education, you can fall so low. So that's the other side of it. So this has been during my experience in the United States. I even worked as a waiter in Barcelona, Spain, for $1 a day.
Wow.
And for a very tough lady, boss. So in other words, that was my experience, trying to see the other side of society. And to make the story short, I found my fortune. 20-some years later, I founded my first business at the age of 34 in Manhattan through a leverage buyout. I married a brown-haired California girl. That was before Jory, DJ. And just when I thought, boy, I am good. You know, Frank Sinatra song, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. I must be smart. I must be good. And just as when I was thinking, this is so fantastic, suddenly the world shifted. My business started declining. And which I later found out why the trading business was having trouble is because of the advent of this thing called personal computers. No longer any need for trading companies, it shows me. When I started, we used telex machines, and we have offices in Japan and Taiwan, and that's how we do it. The internet, all of a sudden, it can't exist. So as my business started going downhill, I was trying to save it. My California wife asked for divorce. So I said, oh my gosh, my business is going downhill, my family is going down. And that's when I decided, after 24 years in the United States, to come back to Taiwan, where I started. Against the advice of my friend, says, don't ever leave your 3 children, because if you leave, you will lose them forever. But I figured I have to start over to find myself in order to be any good to my children. So I returned to Taiwan, this time not on a ship, on a 747. With the same suitcase and backpack. And started over at age 42 in Taiwan. I had no family, no job, and no friends. And that's when I decided to make a blind date with my destiny again. I saw an ad for Toastmasters. I said, try Toastmasters. So I joined the Toastmasters Club, Prestige Toastmasters Club. And then my destiny changed. I met Jory Wu in Toastmasters. And I started making friends. And then I took another career change. I decided to join the company that my father helped found, which he had already retired. It's a foundry that makes pipe fitting. It's a dying industry. Nobody wanted the job. I said, well, I could have always worked for an American company and get a nice salary. But I decided to work on this job that nobody wanted with lower salary because I owe it to my father. And I like to say the Japanese samurai to die before going to battle. In a way, I have died in the United States. So what's another bad job? I had to fire, lay off, close the factories, lay off 250 workers, and really turn that company on. It took about 3 to 5 years. So sometimes there's something about adversity. I look back to my days when I had to, the darkest day, and then come back, well, what's the glory? If it's only about money, no problem. So from there, along with Toastmasters, started my recovery during my second life. So I guess the message I have learned is that I left Taiwan in search of destiny. And that destiny is to not avoid hardship or troubles. But sometimes the only thing you can do is to embrace. Surrender with grace. And that's sometimes life, if you can't win, you might as well go back. And that'll give you another opportunity to come back. So if there's one thing about my story that I would leave, is don't be afraid of failures. I remember when I failed my first algebra class in English, I thought, oh, I might as well commit suicide because my life is over. But that is only the beginning. And I know that many young people today are also suffering this compulsion and the shame of failure. The failure, embrace it. You never know what the Lord is prepared for you next. So from there, things started going very well, including with Toastmasters. And the advantage of marrying a fellow Toastmaster is that it doubles the learning. You know, I get evaluation at a meeting, and I go home, and she gives me another evaluation. This one tougher than the other one. And then we share what we learned. So we think we are 25 years in Toastmasters. Essentially, I've had 50 years of Toastmasters. Anybody who's not married to a Toastmaster here might consider doing that. But in a way, it's a joke, but it's also doubles your learning and accelerate life. So Toastmasters. Why? I'm not a joiner. Why am I in Toastmasters for 26 years? And I went from a regular member like all of you to become the international president. I mean, I never imagined when I gave my icebreaker shaking that I would be speaking in an international convention in Kuala Lumpur in front of 2,400 people. And this is the power of Toastmasters, that you can face your fear with confidence. In a way, Toastmasters entered my life as a good time. When I was at the bottom, I lost all confidence of what I am and what I'm good at. Toastmasters, from the iceberg, step by step, eventually regained the self-confidence. And the Toastmasters thing, confidence shows up not just in making speeches, but it shows up in your relationships. It shows up in your work, in your career. If you're confident in speaking, if you're confident in facing people, that confidence shows up in whatever you do. You're an entrepreneur. You know that's entrepreneurial. You have to learn how to face risks. And in a sense, I consider myself an entrepreneur. I have now started. I'm the chairman of 6 companies, manufacturing companies. I've also started 3 or 4 that also failed. So when I stepped out of my comfort zone in Taiwan, I realized that failure is part of that adventure of life. Failure is okay. And I'm preaching to the people who know that. The Japanese samurai was saying to die before going to battle. And sometimes you have to die before you face the challenges of life. So, Toastmasters, step out of your comfort zone and meet whatever comes, the good as well as the failures. And trust me, you will come out better. Toastmaster of the evening.